Hello and welcome back to the Human First CEO series on LinkedIn Live. I'm Nick Maida, CEO of Gainsight, and I'm thrilled to have Kevin Boyce, CEO of HireLogic, with me today to talk about what it's like to think about a CEO for all stakeholders. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Nick, for having me. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
And Kevin, I noticed that you are not in a kid's playroom like I am right now. You look like you're in an actual office.
I am. I'm the only one here, so it's a nice distraction to break up the week to come in and get some work done. I miss everyone though.
That's awesome. Well, I definitely miss consistent Wi-Fi, so I wish I was where you are sometimes. So one day soon. It's great to see you that you're there. And you know, HireLogic is a private late stage company. Really excited to hear more about how Kevin thinks about all the stakeholders in your business and driving success for all of them, including your shareholders. But I want to start with you as a human being. So you, most of the time, you're kind of cooped up in quarantine, although you've gotten out a little bit more, perhaps, than some being in the office. What's on your bucket list post quarantine?
It's easy. So I have to throw a life event party. So my son's missed their 21st birthday. My wife missed her 50th, and my daughter missed her early acceptance into college for lacrosse. So we've shared it, with small family members, but no big party. So I've told him one big party, and that's it. So
I've been thinking about that in general. My wife turned 40. She had her birthday party, nobody there. There's so many things like that. So I think there's going to be like a massive party globally for every birthday. It's going to be really interesting. So much we have pent up to celebrate. But for now, all of us, I think, have had to be CEOs kind of for all stakeholders during this last year. I think this is the year where people embrace this concept that leadership isn't just about, the bottom line, but it's about making sure all your stakeholders are successful through this. And I think one of the things I know you're passionate about is kind of the community around our companies. And I think it has a double meaning given kind of what your company does in terms of community software. Can you talk about how you think of HireLogic's role in the community more broadly around you?
Yeah, so we drive engagement solutions, community and communications for associations and for software companies that connect customers to each other, right? And that's very powerful in community because you can get answers, you can create strategies of how you're going to go drive success for your businesses and for each other. You're not competing against each other, you're looking for best practices. So we've seen a lot of uptick in creation of new new content, as well as memberships just jumping across the board in our customers' communities.
That's awesome. And your talk a little bit about the types of communities your customer empower, because I think it's pretty interesting in terms of the impact those communities have on the broader world.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, if you look at what Gainsight does and what we do, we specifically focus in on B2B software companies. And in my mind, there isn't a software company that should not be all in on community. The ability to knowledge share, give best practices, you create higher levels of engagement that makes people engage, buy more software, improves retention, and overall your customers are more successful and healthy.
That's awesome. And you guys have had to help a lot of companies transition from their communities being in-person events and things like that to their communities being largely virtual. Talk about how you helped your customers through that transition.
Yeah, so we saw a very unique opportunity in March when many organizations, so associations, software companies, were canceling live in-person events, right? Pulse went through the same thing. When you think about driving that engagement, what we did is we just turned our community platform and created an event engagement solution. So ways for people to interact, the content is there and it's there all year. And what that led to is an appreciation for those dialogues that are happening in smaller communities, purpose-built for if you're in customer success or you're in marketing, how to exchange those best practices. And so to date, we supported over 100 virtual events, and we're seeing significant demand. And frankly, with the resurgence of COVID, I see that demand, getting much higher as we head into the winter months.
Do you see that as a this sort of move towards virtual communities? Do you think this is something that perhaps is not just a COVID thing, but kind of more of a long-term transition? What's your take on it?
Yeah, no, I think mid to long term, I think it's a huge opportunity for people to connect with their customers. And it really, when you think through that digital engagement strategy that you have to have, what used to be, we're going to get to it, it's a nice to have, it's now a must have. And when we see the benefits, I mean, customers that are more engaged, they buy 3 times as much software. They're seeing higher levels of success, health of their customer base. So I really see it as an opportunity. When we launched it, we did it for free, right? So it gave everyone one opportunity to come in, have a virtual event, and keep that content going for up to 90 days. And that really removed the barrier for people that were looking for anything at that point to try something, to get it, to stand it up and launch it. So we're excited to see what that paid opportunity looks like. And many customers, Broadcoms and larger businesses, have said, hey, we want to run multiple events across this solution. So.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, another community you have to serve is the community inside HireLogic in terms of your team. And obviously, I'm sure this has not been an easy year for your team or any team out there or any human being out there. A lot of stuff that we're all dealing with. One of the themes I think that we're wrestling with more as society is this notion that we need to all be more inclusive of the diversity of people around us. And I think I've heard you use the term conscious inclusivity. So I'd love to hear how you think about that as one of your company values.
Yeah, so conscious inclusivity is one of our core 4 values, and it really is just do we have a diverse and inclusive perspective in every decision that we're going to make? Because it's proven the broader perspective you have, the deeper perspective, you're going to make the right decisions for your customers, for your people, for your business. And so that's what we've done. We've powered that with our own community software, right? We have different groups within HireLogic, a sales group, a product group.
Oh, that's cool.
We've launched individual employee-led communities, so women in tech, minorities in tech, pride, and running these small social engagements where most importantly is creating that awareness. So whether it's Pride Bingo or we did a fundraiser, everyone did a 5K. I walked my dog 5 times each day for minorities in tech, and we ended up matching the contribution. So just that small way to keep that engagement going, because that's what people are craving, not being in offices and seeing each other.
I love that. So, and it sounds like this is not something that you just did in 2020. You guys have had that value for a while, I'm guessing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What did this year do in terms of either amplifying that value or putting more nuance to it? Anything new that you had to do this year to be even more inclusive?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we did is we created the ability to have conversations, not only with the management team and these groups, but create social and educational events, whether it's fundraisers or 5Ks, just to create that awareness and that dialogue. We've done unconscious bias training. It's just about making certain that people are aware that how important it is. It's the right thing. It's the socially just thing to do. And, we've just been very straightforward around our approach to that.
This year is when you think about companies inside the company, and you have diverse companies. One of the challenges is like what's acceptable conversation, what's not. Where's the line of what you're allowed to talk about versus politics or whatever? Have you had to come out in any statements on that internally? How do you guys navigate what people talk about within the 4 virtual walls of HireLogic?
Well, I mean, we're definitely open around it. We encourage all the different points of views. I came out very early, internally only. We have a ton of progress to make, but I was very clear around the awareness and also around just the metrics and sharing those metrics every quarter with our employees.
That's awesome.
At the end of the day, I came out and said, listen, this is about bringing people together and driving community. And it was already in our DNA. So just by using our technology and our values, it came very naturally for all of our employees. And what I'm most proud of is that it's employee led and executive facilitated. So we fund it, they do it. It's a grounds up type thing, and it's safe and encouraged with the values that we're living each and every day.
I love that. That's awesome. Employee-led, executive facilitated. I think that's a great philosophy for all of us to aspire to, because if it's executive-led and it's just kind of top-down, you just don't get the same buy-in. Yeah. I also pick up this kind of cool sort of like meta concept, which is you make software to help bring people together and engage people. You use that software internally, and that's allowing you to create a more inclusive environment internally. Do you find that like online engagement, like an online community, it actually allows people to maybe get connected to people they wouldn't otherwise in a kind of face-to-face setting? Like, is it kind of more inclusive in some ways?
It absolutely is. You do have to set up, technology is technology, but process and dialogue, you have to create a way to have those social posts. So one of the best things is like an Ask Me Anything, where you get see questions in advance, so people kind of know what's coming, so they can engage and expect it. And then the natural conversations just start to take over. So that's one of the other things that I think sets us apart from other community and engagement providers is we have over 50 strategic services employees. This is all they do for companies like Broadcom, IBM, and several others. So it's like, what are the best practices to create those real conversations, those real human connections with customers, with employees, and with the stakeholders?
That's a really good point. So if you're trying to drive this kind of dialogue either internally or amongst your clients, it's not like just set it up and go. There's a lot of thought process in how you actually get to open up and talk and stuff like that.
Exactly. Like 22 days in, if someone has just 2 engagement activities, they're statistically proven to be, they will be engaged a year from now, right? If they don't have certain things, how then do you use the automation rules that we have to queue those responses so that people engage? We've seen a 74% increase in just creation, meaning people posting or starting a discussion thread or sharing content on a year-over-year basis. This is post-pandemic.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, it's a good segue to my third kind of chapter, which is, I can't do any discussion without talking about customer success, like my book's here, right? So a lot of this audience is, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people in SaaS and cloud, and they've got customers they want to retain and drive them more engagement, more adoption, all the stuff you think about in your business, right? And you and I have talked about, how does getting your customers into a community correlate to getting them to stay with your software and be more engaged long-term? How do you think about that?
So I think about it really around return on investment and return on engagement, right? So when you think of return on investment, the more active a customer is, the more they're using your software and they're engaged in the community conversations, the more they're likely to buy more, the more likely to renew, and the more likely that those customers are actually answering each other's questions, right? So Jama Software has seen a 28% improvement in the efficiency of supporting their customers, right? In a previous life, if people were involved in a community, they were 3 times more likely to buy its software. Where we see it on return on engagement is you can look at the overall health of a community. We just released the engagement benchmark score now that's embedded in our software, so you can actually compare your community to other communities. And now as our customers are putting in their industries, we could begin to publish industry metrics around that. So, what's the right percentage of active users to total users in a community? And so if you talk to people like, well, what's the ROI on it? Bottom line, if you're a small or a medium-sized software business, it's a payback of about just 6 months when you think about a 0.5 percentage point improvement in retention, a higher net promoter score from a customer base. I mean, there's just tons of benefits. And I go back to that point I made before. Really, we're coming of age where you need to control the dialogue, and Gainsight's a great example of that in all the books, Nick, that you've written. Like, you're so passionate about it that it lives in that. The opportunity for that to live in that community is really powerful. And if people aren't doing that, they're not taking advantage of that natural virtual connection that really is, it's probably going to be that way for at least another year, right? And I don't think it's ever going to go back.
And have you found, maybe in your business or in your client's business, a correlation between these customers are engaged in the community, these customers retain at a higher level? Have you been able to either anecdotally or kind of scientifically see that?
Yeah, anecdotally, we can prove it out with our software customers, with our association customers. Again, a member is just like a customer, right? They have membership dues. We can see that in their 990s over a 5-year period. So,
sorry, what's a 990 just for folks?
Just their tax form. So it's their financial information that you can actually see it. So, and we're just seeing, especially at the corporate enterprise level in software, you're seeing a lot of customers out there wake up and say, hey, we have to go do this. Juniper Networks is a new customer of ours, HP Aruba. So, I mean, these are all people that, they're starting to see it, and it's at the highest levels in those organizations.
Now, you have a customer success team, and I know, Jay, you're a CCO who's awesome. How do you see, when you're thinking about your own business, how does customer success fit into your company's strategy and the way you think about running your company?
Yeah, it's our largest organization. It is critical to our success. I mean, we're a highly recurring revenue business, and we're only going to be successful if our customers are successful. So Jay and I talk about it really simple. It's outcomes and experiences, right? If you make your customers successful and it's the best experiences, that's kind of the mind and the heart of what you're trying to do each and every day with our customers.
That's all. And what do you do as a CEO to, Jay probably can't control the outcome and experience himself or with his team. He probably depends on engineering and sales and other groups. What do you do to drive the right cross-functional support for customer success as the CEO?
So we have executive sponsors. Just recently when Jay joined, we did a 50 and 50. So 50 customer calls in 50 days.
Nice.
Our head of product, myself and Jay, did those calls. We read all of our customers' feedback relative to the surveys that we do. And we have daily, especially now virtually, we do daily stand-ups where we're talking about, what's going on in the experience of the platform, what are the outcomes, how do we make sure that those customers are successful? And we have shared goals. All of our executives are compensated in a consistent way. So I don't have different goals aligned. It's all about customer success, the health of the business, and that's, are we keeping our customers and are they successful?
Are you doing daily stand-up with the management team? Is that what I heard there at the?
So we do a 10-minute daily stand-up with all my direct reports, and then I do weekly updates to our entire employee base every Wednesday night.
What's the daily stand-up agenda? What do you cover in 10 minutes?
Oh no, it literally is. It's just around the horn. What's going on? What do you need? And also, if you didn't get something that you need that week or is critical that for that day that you have to get. So
got it. That's great. I love the innovation.
10 minutes of accountability. So
yeah, that's great. I think that keeps the pace and energy going for sure. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, I kind of got into towards the end of it. I always like to ask a few kind of takeaway questions just to see kind of some advice for the folks watching. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to other tech CEOs on how to be more human first in the way you approach your business?
I think you gotta have conversations with your customers, dialogue with your employees. I'm finding myself doing much more check-ins with employees because I'm not getting a chance to see them in the office, right? We have 4 offices globally. And when you can't see those people, you have to schedule it. Just like you're making a customer call, I'll do a 20-minute call with our customers, check in, how are you doing? What can we improve? Same thing with employees, especially with COVID. October's mental health month. How's your family? How are you? Great. What's the one thing that has you worried? How do you make sure you're showing them that you care? I'm super proud that as we went through this, I do a town hall every quarter, and I do a sit down with every single employee in probably 20 different focus groups. So we just rotate through it. I came out very early and we didn't lay a single person off. Yes, we made some adjustments, but we held on to all of our employees as we're coming through this, and we're seeing the success of what communities can drive, and our pipelines are robust. So we did not overreact because we knew the value that we delivered. So I would say the more you talk to those employees and you talk to those customers, get as close as you can to that human experience of what we do, then you can kind of see the real business reality.
That's that theme, by the way. I mean, some companies were obviously forced to do layoffs, and that in some industries you couldn't avoid it. But that theme of companies trying to carry their team through this crisis versus sort of cutting, I see that from a lot of leaders. That's really that. I think this is different than previous crises. What on a more trivial note, what software product can you personally not live without? That's one of my standard questions.
It's probably our internal community, right? I mean, I'm out there looking at it.
Okay, non-HireLogic. That was a good advertisement. Non-HireLogic.
Oh man, I don't know. I would say I probably couldn't live without my mobile phone. So the ability to connect teams and connect at any point in time with my team, that's super
That's great. And I'll find a close.
What about you? What can't you live without?
I don't know. I mean, I would say I probably can't live with it or without it is probably Twitter. So it is both. As I said recently, it's the cure to all of my problems and the cause of all of my problems. So what I see on Twitter. So both sides of it.
There's a guy who across the river right over there. It's the same. It's the same thing for him.
So. We try not to discuss those things on this. So word association, final. I'm going to give you 5 words, 4 words. You have 4 phrases. You tell me what first thing comes to mind. Digital transformation.
Mission critical.
All right. COVID-19.
Perseverance.
Community.
Oh man, must have.
Must have. There you go. Customer success.
Heart and soul.
Human first.
Always.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for being a human first leader. Great having you on here. Thanks to the folks watching. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Nick, thanks so much.